I'm Sherry Kendall, and welcome to Hometown Salutes. Today, my Fayette County veteran is John Rolfe. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Were you born and raised here in Fayette County?
No, I was raised out in Henderson, Nevada.
Okay. And so how did you end up in Fayette County?
Back in 2016, I wound up coming back to Indiana.
Okay. So you have family in Fayette County?
I did. I had family in Wayne County, actually.
Okay.
My mother.
Okay. So you went into the service for 10 years. What branch of service were you in?
I was in the Army.
And did you go into the Army like right after high school?
Actually, I dropped out of high school to join the Army.
Okay. So you went in at what age?
17.
17 in the Army. So were your parents supportive about you doing that?
My mother was. My dad didn't know. He was out of the picture, so.
Okay. So you were raised by your mom?
Yeah.
So did you come from a military family, or it was just the best option for you?
Yeah, my grandfather was Navy Seabeam. My dad was a Marine sniper.
So why did you pick the Army?
Just seemed to be the best fit.
For you?
Yes.
Okay. So you went to basic training where?
At Fort Knox, Kentucky. It was one-stop unit training, which means I had basic training and my advanced individual training all in one shot. So it was complete. It was more than just basic training. It was the entire shot all at one time. So we had the same drill sergeants for the entire schooling.
Okay.
So it was 4 months of training.
It was 4 months of training. Well, that's nice that they did it that way. I mean, were you glad it was done that way?
Not really.
Not really?
It was like basic training for 4 months. You were getting smoked on your graduation day. You were getting dropped in your dress grains.
Wow. So then you went into your specialized training?
No, the specialized training was included.
Was included. So what did you specialize in?
Armor crewman.
Oh, wow.
I was a tank crewman.
So what all did that entail?
All that entail the 4 stations on the tank. And learned how to drive a tank, how to load it, how to command it, how to gun it, how to shoot it.
Gosh, being a 17-year-old kid, I can't imagine what you thought as you were doing all this.
It was a challenge.
Were you one of the youngest ones in your group?
Yeah, I was the youngest one in my group.
You were the youngest. How did they treat you?
Pretty harsh.
Did they?
Yeah, they were like, okay, we got a mama's boy. Let's toughen him up. Oh,
wow. So is there an experience during the basic training, the camp, that you could tell us about, a memorable experience or a funny experience?
No, it was just, it was hard, but it was fair. It was just 4 months of nonstop physical activity.
So your day would start like at what time?
About 4:30 in the morning.
And you'd go the entire day?
Yeah, until about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
And was like just never nonstop? I mean, just constant going?
Yeah, it was constant physical activity in classes. A lot of technical classes on the tanks.
Wow.
I went in on M60 tanks, which were the dinosaur tanks. And then once I got to Germany, we went through M1 transition, got the M1 tanks.
Okay. So your first tour, where did you go?
I went to Germany, to West Germany, back when there was an East and West Germany.
When there wasn't an East or West? So
no, when
what
there
year?
was an East and West Germany, 85 to 88.
Okay, 85 to 88. So can you tell us anything that happened in Germany?
I was there during the Cold War, so I spent time on the East German border. We had a lot of alerts. So the tensions were high over there.
Wow. So did you, so things were pretty crazy when you were right there, right?
Oh yeah. And like I said, the tensions were high between the East Germany and West Germany. So when the alerts were serious business, we'd rolled out to fold the gap and set up for combat, ready for World War III. Every time the alert went off.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine that. So, when your first contract was up, you went on and re-signed up?
Yes, I did.
And what would make, why were you doing that? Were you going to make a career out of it? Is that what you wanted to do? Or was it just the timing that you thought?
Honestly, when I re-enlisted, I was 19, and I didn't think that I had any other goal in life at the time. I just felt that the Army was my home. The tanks were the only thing that I knew, and that was what I was comfortable with.
Wow. It made you grow up fast, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Seeing what you saw and did the things that you did.
Yeah, the time on the East German border definitely concreted my belief structure.
So how long were you there during that time?
What, up on the border? Mm-hmm. We did tours 90 days at a time, and we did probably six of them while I was there in 3 years.
Wow. That's unreal. So then after Germany, what did you do?
I went back to Fort Knox, Kentucky. I was there for approximately 2 years until Iraq invaded Kuwait. And when Iraq invaded Kuwait, I was sitting in my living room watching CNN, and there was a guy burning an American flag. And I told my ex-wife, I was like, I'm going over there to kick his ass. Sorry for the language.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going over there.
Yeah, you guys fought too hard.
And when I got to my unit that morning, after PT, we had a formation, and the CO said that they needed guys to round out a unit out of Fort Stewart to deploy. And I was one of the first to raise their hands. I was like, I'm gone.
Wow.
This is what I've been training for the last 5 years. I'm history.
Yeah.
So I went.
So that's when you signed up for another 4 years?
Oh, no, I was in the middle of an enlistment, so I just went ahead and went.
Oh, okay. All right. So once you got over there, I mean, what was that like as you landed there and got over there? I mean, what?
We landed at 11:30 at night, and it was 136 degrees on the tarmac.
136 degrees.
It was August 24th. We were the first tank unit to land in Saudi.
You were the first tank unit?
Yes.
So what happened once you landed? Tell me what.
We dug foxholes and waited for our tanks. Our tanks were on ships getting shipped over, so we just waited. Waited on alert.
Were days long when you were over there?
Very long. Very hot and very long.
Yeah. And you would just stay down in the foxholes mainly? I mean, it was probably pretty tense when you got there, right?
It was extremely tense. Nobody knew exactly what was going on. You know, information was minimal. So we just sat by and stood our ground.
How many were in your platoon?
In a platoon and tanks, you had 4 men in each tank crew and 4 tanks in a platoon. So you had 16 in a platoon. But I was in headquarters platoon, so we only had 2 tanks in the platoon. But the platoon also comprised of the 2 Humvee crews and the NBC crew. So we had roughly 25 people in our platoon.
Did they all stay safe?
Oh, yes. When we stayed hydrated, that was the main thing over there, staying hydrated.
Yeah. So what time, like, when were you over there? Like, what? January, March, spring, summer,
we
fall?
got over there in August.
The hottest part.
Yeah, we got over there in August of '90. And we were over there until Desert Storm kicked off, and then we went in and fought in Desert Storm.
Wow. So how long were you over there? How many years were you over there then?
It wasn't a year. It was from August of '90 until March of '91.
Okay. And then after that, you came back?
Yes, and came back to Fort Stewart and went straight back up to Fort Knox.
Okay. And so what year are we in now?
91.
91. And then what did you do?
I continued, I went back to Fort Knox to the 12th Cav, where I was an instructor in the armor school.
Oh, you instructed?
and instructed lieutenants on the 50 caliber machine gun.
Oh, wow. So how did you like doing that?
It was enlightening, instructing new lieutenants in the armor school. But mainly, I enjoyed my time at the 12th Cav. They had a motto, Semper Paratus, which means always ready. And it was a motto we lived by.
Okay. And so is that one of your tattoos?
Yes, and tattooed it on my arm a few years ago.
Okay.
To remind me, always ready.
And then what's the other one?
32nd Armor, victory or death.
Wow. So instructing was something, I mean, that was something you enjoyed doing when you got back? I mean, were you glad?
It was honestly just a task that was given to me. It wasn't like a specialized job.
Okay.
So, I mean, like in Germany, I got sent to a specialized school for NBC, for nuclear, biological, and chemical school, where I learned NBC school. I learned how to read radioactive fallout and chemical decontamination and that. And I was actually assigned as the NBC NCO for my tank company in Germany. So that was an extra assignment besides being a tanker in Germany.
Wow.
So that was an extra MOS identifier on my MOS, which is 19 kilo. And so I upheld the NBC room and all the equipment, the decontamination equipment and the radiological equipment. So that was an additional job that I had in Germany. That was interesting.
I was going to say, I bet that's pretty interesting.
Interesting and intense during the alerts. When we would roll out for an alert, I'd have to set up the radiological equipment and the chemical detection equipment and operate that and make sure things were running smoothly and make sure we were not being attacked by chemical or radiological.
Wow. And that was probably, a lot of that was probably top secret too, I would think, right?
Not really. And we had several NBC teams operating every time we had an alert.
Oh, we did? You did?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So what did you think of Germany? Did you like it?
I love Germany. Germany was a fantastic country.
Did you learn to speak their language?
We had a little bit. We had 2 weeks when we first got there where they gave us a crash course in the language, and it was interesting over there.
Yeah.
The culture was wonderful. The people were great.
Wow. Did you visit any other countries? You went to Germany and then Saudi.
We took tours while we were in Germany, so we saw a bit of Italy and a bit of France.
Oh, you did?
And a bit of England.
Did you have time to ever take liberty and really see it or not?
No.
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 Just on the tour. So do you want to share maybe a story that happened in either during Desert Storm or Desert Shield that you did, or?
It's not much to say really. Just went over there and we did our job.
Right.
Went over there and Desert Shield was hot, but we dealt with it. And Desert Storm was combat. We went in and we fought. We did what we had to do. Brought our brothers home.
Yep. And you all came home?
Yeah,
safely?
everybody in our unit came home. When we had a Cab Scout that took severe injuries, he was severely disabled, but he came home.
Oh, good. Wow. So what are some life lessons that you learned from your time in the military?
Never give up.
Never give up.
Always stay prepared and never give up.
Yeah. Yeah, you were so young going in. I mean, you had to really learn a lot. That's awesome. So have you been able to keep in touch with some of your military friends?
No, not really. This country is really big. And when people get out of the military, they pretty much disperse. And I haven't really been able to keep in touch.
Yeah. Not even through the internet or through Facebook or any of the
No.
social media sites?
Once in a while, I'll run into somebody on Facebook, but not a whole lot of people.
Yeah. Wow. So after the service, when you got out, so you were how old when you got out?
God, it's been a lifetime ago. I got out in '94, so.
So in '94, when you got out, where did you go back to?
I went back to Louisville, Kentucky,
Okay.
because I had a son there. And I got out and I went into corrections. I was a corrections officer for 5 years. And then I got out of that and I went into shipyard. I worked in a shipyard as a welder for a year.
Okay.
And that's how I wound up here. I wound up working at the Vistion plant that used to be here in Fayette County.
Yeah.
I worked there for a year.
Okay.
And then when it closed down, I wound up working at Sinram, which was in Richmond,
Okay.
in Wayne County. And then that closed down after 8 years. I worked there for 8 years, and that closed down. So I wound up going to Ivy Tech for 2 years. And got out of Ivy Tech and went down to Richmond to stay with my son for a couple of years. And wound up working for Topworks Electronics, which makes a product called the Go Switch, which is an electronic on-off switch. And I wound up working maintenance for them.
Okay.
So that's what I did for the last couple of years before I wound up being medically retired, was maintenance.
Okay. So does your son, does he still live in Kentucky?
Yeah, he lives down in Louisville. He does solar panel work.
Was he in the service at all?
No,
No?
he never joined.
And then you have a daughter.
I have 2 stepdaughters, yeah.
Okay. And Tiffany was on a couple months ago, so she was in the service.
Yeah, she insisted I do this.
And we're glad you did. So, so then after the service, you were in Kentucky, and then you ended up here. And you're glad that you joined the service?
Oh, yeah.
And that was a good move for you to have taken.
Yeah,
And did you get your schooling afterwards? Because you said you went to Ivy Tech then?
yeah.
So you ended up with a degree?
Yeah, for computer and internet, or CINT, basically computer technologies.
Okay.
But I never used it.
A lot of people don't. They go to college and then they don't use what their degree is in. So tell us a little bit, like you live now here in Fayette County.
Yes.
And what do you do in your spare time?
Sleep. A lot of sleep. My central nervous system is shot, so I'm pretty much medically disabled. So
From the service?
Yes. So I just sleep a lot.
Oh. So do you go to the VA
Yes.
out of Indy or Cincinnati?
Dayton.
Oh, Dayton. Yep, I like them there. Yep, they treat everyone well, I think, there.
Yes, they do.
So is there like a story you can tell us or share with us? Like maybe something funny that happened maybe during boot camp?
No, boot camp was not funny whatsoever. It was a rough time. I lost like 60 pounds in 4 months.
Wow. What was the food like?
It was good.
It was?
They fed us well. It was just, like I said, very intense training. Well, I went through May to August, so down at Fort Knox, Kentucky, so it was hot and humid.
Was the training combined because of what was going on in the world? Is that why you got to go through that all together?
No, it's just the way the Army had it structured at the time, the armor school. That's how they did it. The basic training and the armor school was combined. It was just a very compact course.
Yeah. So in Germany, can you tell me anything in Germany? Did you do anything fun in Germany? Could you? Or was it just all intense?
We drank a lot.
You drank? Well, that's
we drank
good.
a lot.
Any funny stories about those nights?
Not that I remember.
Not that. That's funny. So tell us before we wrap it up here. I'm glad that you came in to share your story. To have 10 years in the service, that's awesome. I mean, I just can't imagine going through that at such a young age. Because you got out at, would you have been 27 then when you got out?
Yes, I was 27.
Yeah. And then you started your career after a career in the Army at such a young age. That's pretty awesome. Let's talk about, in the 10 years, do you want to talk about when you decided to get your tattoos? What brought that on? Did you get them both at the same time?
Yeah, I got them both the same day. Actually, I was getting a tattoo in memory of my dad. He had a tattoo of the skunk from Bambi, Flower. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He had that tattoo on his bicep, and I got it on my shoulder. And I was like, I want two of my military tats. So I decided on the 12th Cav and the 32nd Armor. So I got those the same day.
Wow. Yeah, that's really neat. So and you said you don't keep in touch with your military, any of the military people?
Mm-mm.
Huh.
I ran across one a couple months ago who I served with in Desert Storm, and that was it.
And was he close to here?
No, he's down in Georgia, I think.
Wow. Did you connect, through Facebook or something?
Yeah, I saw him on Facebook, and I sent him a message.
Wow.
He's still alive and kicking, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you guys are young. So did you get along with all your commanders?
Pretty much.
Were there any of them that, like, just you didn't like and they didn't like you and they just made it tough on you?
No, not really. There's one that I didn't get along with, but he didn't make it tough on me. We just didn't see eye to eye. We just didn't really get along that well.
When you went in, how many started?
What, in my unit?
Yes. And did they all finish, or
Oh,
how
yeah.
many?
We all finished. It was 161.
And all 161 finished through the
Yeah,
whole?
all 161 graduated.
Wow. All right. Well, John, I just want to thank you for coming in and sharing your experience today.
No problem.
I appreciate your service and your sacrifice. Wow, 10 years in the Army. That's awesome. So thank you.
No problem.
So be sure to tune in next month for another edition of Hometown Salutes.